All right. Well, that was Nico Carver from Nebula Photos. And if you haven't checked out his stuff or know who he is yet, you should. Go check him out at Nebula Photos on YouTube. Really great presentation. Thank you to him. We do have to catch up with 2 more 50% off. Let's see, what time are we at here? Got to make sure. We're at 4 o'clock, 4:05. We'll skip that for now. We're going to go right to Shawn Nielsen and a special guest that he has going on here. And I don't know if Eric's not in yet. That's okay. So let's see. Do I have a Dan and Shawn? Let's see. Give me 1 second. SHA and Shawn. Dan and Shawn. Where is Dan? There we go. Dan and Shawn. Here we go. Dan and Shawn. We got Shawn Nielsen. And who do we got there, Shawn? Is that
we got Wayne Parker. We got Wayne Parker. Can you hear me okay, Dan?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear you just fine. I'm gonna actually lower you a little bit. You're coming in a little hot.
Okay. Yeah, I'll sit back a bit too. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks a lot for. Thanks to Shawn too for he's let me sort of take some of his time off, and thank you very much. I'm a big fan of AstroWorld TV. I tune in. I'm a watcher. I'm a viewer. I'm a lurker.
Stalker.
That's nice to know.
I get what you're saying. I know what's going on. Yeah. We got to get you a pod S in that back. You get moved. Hurry up. Get moved and get your pod S in the backyard.
You need a pod S, Dan.
Here's the thing, though. I'm on the fence now on whether to just go all in, because what we say on the show all the time, and Pete Meyer, who's on the show all the time, buy once, cry once. So what? Do I buy 2 pods? I know you'll love me to buy 2 pods. Or, he's like, yes, buy 2. Or should I just get the S now? And because I'm building a floating deck and whatever, so I'm building a floating deck and I'm going to throw it on there. So it's not going to be, not portable. It's just, do I want to go with the whole shebang first? I don't know.
Well, we created an upgrade path. If you want to call it an upgrade path. You can start with the manual, then add the motor system. It's best to get bays and stuff when you first get it, because it costs almost as much to ship bays and things later.
I would swing up there and pick it up. So,
hey, come on up. We got a lot of people already we're looking forward to who are coming up from places like Ohio, Pennsylvania. It'd be nice to have some from New York as well. But again, very thankful to you guys for allowing me. I don't get out much. I've always got my head down under the hood. We're busy 7 days a week making observatories. I get a lot of invites, but often they don't. I got to devote myself to our owners. And I have a lot of time. Oh, sure, you guys can lollygag and have the show and talk about stuff, which is amazing. But while you're doing that, we're making observatories. And that's what we do. So it's really great to have this opportunity to be able to join you and talk a little.
Yeah. So I thought maybe we could share a screen here, and Wayne could go over some of the details of the new Pod S that they've just announced. So
congratulations on the launch.
Thank you very much. It's been fantastic. I'm at least I got a decent sleep last night. We have a place. Our development shop is an old, long, dark shop that I love, that a lot of amazing things have come out, and we call it the Bat Cave, because at night it's all dark and just the lights we work by. And so I was at the Bat Cave till late last night as usual, and working on Pod S, getting ready to ramp up for production. And now it's kind of in the hands of the software guys. We have an incredible electronics and software team. It's one thing we haven't talked about a lot yet, which we will be over the next couple of months. We had to figure out, when are we going to tell people about this? And now that we've had units finished for most of the year and we put them through their paces, and we already know enough about the materials and stuff from making thousands of pods over the years, I thought, okay, let's peg it for December. We'll work through the winter on manuals and tweaking our software and getting feedback from people, and then we'll start production sort of mid-spring, get the first units out. So it's kind of in the hands of the electronics guys now, and our electronics team I want to mention Bart Kuzar, who's the head of our electronics team. He has decades of experience in movement and lift for military. He makes giant lifts that lift tanks onto flatbeds and stuff like that. Really robotics, movement, and big stuff. And then James Bonnell, who's our amazing software guy. He works for NASA. He's like the pro from Dover, they call him when they want to hit an asteroid with a probe, that kind of stuff. And he's really taken to it. He spent 2 years while we've been working and developing Pod S. James and our electronics guys, Gary Bennett, who's the head of our electronics department design, they've been working very diligently. And in fact, about 9 months ago, James sent me the first draft of the software frequently asked questions. We haven't uploaded to the new Pod S website the software FAQ yet, but we will soon. I'm hoping by the end of the year. And even the first draft, which is now out of date internally, it was amazing. It's going to answer. It's going to blow your mind. So far we've just shown you the building. Wait till you see the electronics, the ASCOM, the Indy ability, Alpaca, if you like, all that stuff, remote capable. Wait till we show you all that stuff. It's really going to blow your mind. You're going to start to see the whole picture. So far, I've just shown you the building. So stay tuned over the next couple of months. And as Shawn mentioned, we need to get that website, SkyShed-pod-s.com. We've given it its own site for now. We're getting lots of astronomers visiting, which is fantastic. And so we'll start showing you a lot more. And the biggest questions people have is how much and when. Mm-hmm. We know that. And so at the top of our first frequently asked question is how much and when. And it's kind of a catch-22 as far as how much, because the more interest we get, the more we can ramp up and we can buy from suppliers. That lowers our cost. So we didn't want to come in and say, this is how much it's going to be. We wanted to see how much interest we got. And Shawn was just asking me before we came on. He said, how you doing so far with orders and deposits? I won't call them orders because they're I'm interested, and are you interested enough to plunk down $500 and get in line? And when I checked this morning, we had over 150 so far that have gotten in line for a Pod S. Which is a lot more than we expected after a few days of going live. And then there's probably another 150 that are close who have questions and want to talk to me and stuff like that. So we are dedicated to astronomers. We're avid astrophotographers. Shawn, I'm lucky. I'm sitting next to my Pixinsight guru. It's a big thrill for me. I always highly recommend Shawn, and of course the guys, the masters of Pixinsight, Ron Breacher and our other friends, Warren Keller and so on. They'll really, for people new getting into it, they'll take you from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. And hey, there's Eric. Hey Eric, I got to tell you, thank you so much. I saw your excitement on the show and talking about Pod S, and I thought, hey, he's as excited as we are, and that's fantastic. Oh, yeah. I really appreciate that. You're gonna love it. I can't tell you how fantastic it is. I mean, I as the designer, as the creator of the thing, as you work through it, you hope things turn out. And it's just been a series of high fives at the shop, at the Batcave. It's high five, another one. We passed another milestone, and it was better than we expected. It's really strong. And as you know, pods are strong. It's stronger. As you know, taller, which you like.
That is key.
Now, with that dome up above you, like I was walking in and out of my Pod S last night, I tipped my head. You know, it's like this. That's it. The dome is now up above you, up at 6 feet. So we've got units up at the as we say, the Batcave, that we go back and forth between. It's night and day as far as the space inside, because now the dome's up above you, and it just creates so much more room. Steve Malia, Ontario Telescopes, and I were standing in one of the units, my unit, the other night, and he was at one side of the RAS 11. I was at the other. Our friend Owen was standing at the door. We were moving around. It's much, much different when that dome is raised up above you, and of course, with the bays now at the top of it being shoulder height, you can sit and look into the bay, see your screen and stuff. So it's really everything about it has been fantastic. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have hundreds of people behind us, all our local suppliers, the factory, and so on. It just goes right down the line, who've been dedicated to this for years with us, not only from SkyShed roll-off to PodMax. And by the way, people say, why didn't you come out with this earlier? Back in 2010, I had to make a choice. We had sold thousands of pods. And I said, okay, the market is shifting from visual to astro imaging. But we were getting a lot of calls from people like NASA, MIT, SpaceX, Boeing, and they were saying, do you have a bigger one? Do you have a motorized one? So I said to my team, let's do PodMax first, the biggie. And then once we get that rolling, let's go back to what we were going to do on the next pod, which is Pod S. S, of course, stands for slotted dome. Yep. Dan, not clamshell. It's not a different type of clamshell. It's a different type of dome. And we use the classic rollback, pivot down. Makes it really simple. I'm head of mechanical structural. My buddies are head of electronics and control. On PodMax, I made it easy on them because we have two slot covers which telescope into each other and go over the back third one. That's a lot easier for electronics control, but it's a lot more challenging for engineering, mechanical and structural. Whereas the Pod S design with a pivoting down cover and a rolling back cover, which has been around since the 1850s. From the first time I've seen pictures taken, they were up Observatory, some of them. It's much easier designed from a structural mechanical point of view and operational view, but more involved for the guys in electronics and control, because if you imagine when we open remotely, we have to, since they're tiled down, we have to push a button, this one rolls back, that one pivots down. Now we have to reverse that, for instance, when we're closing. It's not just an open and close thing, it's a reversal thing. So it's more involved. It's kind of 3 axes versus 2. But and I just want to say too, we are dedicated. My band, Glass Tiger, an 80s rock and roll band, is playing at Toronto's Massey Hall tonight. They really wanted me to be there. I'm on a sabbatical, you might say, from the band to concentrate. They know all about Pod S. They've known for a couple of years that I was working on it. I said, guys, I got to bow out from touring and from recording. I got this thing I'm doing. It's called SkyShed. They know all about it, and they're 100% behind me. So I was really thrilled to be here with you guys today, instead of being in a sound check at Massey Hall in Toronto with the band tonight. So we are dedicated. I archive my inbox every year, my email inbox. There's usually 6,000 to 8,000 emails. It's all astronomers. So I get to talk. It's a wonderful life. I get to talk to astronomers all day long. We're up, of course, on the latest mounts, latest scopes, latest filters, what people are doing. If you contact me and say, hey, wait, I'm interested in a SkyShed or a Pod or a Pod S, first thing I'm going to ask you is, what's your gear and what are you planning to do? That's what we want to know. We're involved. This is a long-term relationship. That's the way we look at it. Look at Ron Breacher. We built a roll-off for Ron Breacher 12, 13 years ago when he was a fledgling imager. And look where he is now. That's the favorite part of it for me, to see our owners getting into it. Pretty soon, they're on the cover of a magazine, or their images at least are. They're speakers. They're getting famous, and that's really what does it for me. So that's why I do it 7 days a week. I take a couple days off at Christmas, but every day when I finish here, I'll go back to my office. I'll be answering emails and making phone calls to people who are interested. I was telling Shawn that we've had a great launch week, and We usually don't talk too much about numbers, but let's say we're well over 100. We're closing on 200 now. Like I said,
201.
And that's a lot. You know, my team, we're a great team. Everybody in it is a specialist and has a lot of experience. And we have these discussions before we announced it. What do we do if? What happens if we get a couple of hundred orders off the top? Well, our answer is that's a good problem to have. We'll figure it out.
There's a couple questions actually.
Oh, questions.
Yeah.
Questions.
The one question David had was, does the split slot allow to open wider for open zenith view?
Yes. The slot, which is 28 inches wide, meaning theoretically it can take up to 20-inch scope, although you'd never put a 20-inch scope in there, let's say a bucket style. You're going to use up to about a 14. Well, we've got 12 inches past zenith, 9 of which are unobstructed. So theoretically, 16-inch fork-mounted scope sticking straight up at zenith is going to have a clear view. Of course, most of us aren't going to use those size and types of scopes. But for smaller scopes, especially when guys are using refractors and newts, let's say, if you're in the 6, 8, 10, 12, or 9, quarter, 11, even up to a 14-inch range, you're going to have a view well past zenith. And of course, the dome, and this is one of the neatest things when you've got a slotted dome and you get used to this. Because ice time in my observatories, I can use them remotely, but I like to get out there out of my office under the stars, and I have to know every nook and cranny and every sound they make. So I spend a lot of time imaging in them, and it's the neatest thing for me that because it's ASCOM with Pod Max as it will be with Pod S. Your Nina, your SG Pro, your Maxim DL, SkyX, these things, they're doing the heavy lifting. The dome is designed to follow your scope. So it's the neatest thing for me that if I start, I do a lot of sharpless stuff. So I'm very often shooting to the northeast as it comes up. And what's neat to me is my dome is slowly turning so that eventually when I'm at zenith, my slot is now facing the other way. So in other words, when the dome gets to zenith, when the scope gets to zenith, the dome is basically circling around it. So that you've always got an opening to zenith and beyond. And so if you're going from horizon, let's say you're utilizing a meridian flip or using a harmonic drive now, you're going to go straight from horizon to horizon. That dome that slot opening just follows you all the way around, and you never have an obstruction as far as zenith goes.
Now, the other question that was asked was John was asking, let me just find it here. He was asking if you're going to sell just the dome itself separately. Yes, upgrade again. Speaking upgrade path, I don't like to say upgrade because many thousands of pod owners are happy with their pod and they love it for the simplicity. We designed it for simplicity, for 100% uptime, open it up. Now, we did design it almost 20 years ago when 80% of our owners were doing visual. Very few. People were still doing film imaging. And so it shifted over the years, and we're a little bit behind. We figured every 3 years or so we'd come out with a new model, and it's turned out to be every 5 years or so. So I'd like to have had, and of course the pandemic really slowed down. We would have been announcing this a year ago if it wasn't for the pandemic. It was like developing in slow motion. Everything was. Now the kind of good news about that is our factory has invested millions in new machinery. Bigger machinery, 21st century state-of-the-art machinery, which means we can make 10 domes a day once we get rolling. And of course, we'll have NASA projects and all kinds of research things. So that'll be one part of it. And then we'll have our backyard astronomers having the other part of production. So we designed the dome. And when my engineer came to me and said, well, why don't we make the bay bigger? If we're going up, why don't we go out? I said, no, it has to have the same footprint, same wall diameter, so that it's interchangeable. So that if you own a pod and you would like to move to remote imaging and remote capability, you just have to either take your dome off and sell it, or it's totally recyclable, I'm happy to say.
take it to the landfill if you like, put on the new dome, put on the motor system, you're off to the races for remote. So you can do both, or you can start from scratch and choose either wall height, either dome. Go ahead, Eric.
Eric, you're muted.
You're muted, Eric. There was another question while Eric sorts out his audio there. Another question. Gideon was asking if it's burglar proof.
Is your car burglar proof? Is your house burglar proof? Is Fort Knox burglar proof? You know what it is? It's secure for casual inspection, which means, first of all, it was 6,000 plus pods out there. We've never heard of a break-in. Same thing goes for SkySheds and stuff. One of the interesting things is when I first put my pod in my backyard, I live in a farm area, Bortle, used to be a Bortle 3, now it's a Bortle 4. And I asked my neighbors, what do you think that is? And they'd say, composter? Propane? They had no idea. So number one, there's nothing in there. What's in there that a thief is going to go for? Yes, it locks up. Yes, the dome locks down. And in fact, they lock down good enough to go through things like Cat 5 hurricanes and Ian and stuff like that. So it locks up. But I always say, somebody wants to get in, they'll get in. Whether it's your car, whether it's your house. So what you do is you utilize your ring system, you expand your home security to it. There's even motion detectors. You can spend $15 on Amazon to get a motion detecting alert signal thing that goes off. There's all kinds of things. So we don't really worry about security. We're not lax about it. We lock up our observatory after we're finished for the night. But I always say, somebody, given enough time and motivation, somebody will get into Fort Knox.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question
that came up, which Billy's Astro had, was about, and I'm not sure what the logistics of this are, but if you have a SkyShed, could you swap out the roof and put
do you mean a SkyShed roll-off?
Yeah, a SkyShed roll-off. Could you swap out somehow and put a Pod S dome on it?
No,
isn't going to happen.
No, I'm not a big fan of, we don't make a transition. I get a couple of requests a week for people to say, I'm building a home. I want to cut a hole and stick a dome on top. And of course, the first thing we say is, read page 8 of Terence Dickinson's Night Watch. Locate the observatory away from other structures. Number one, heat emitting structures. I've seen people spend ridiculous amounts of money because everybody has the dream. Who doesn't have the dream? I want to build an observatory into my house. We have to rip the Band-Aid off day one and say, bad idea. Get it away from the house, get it away from other heat emitting structures. And that's why when you see, now I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here, because when you see photos of world famous observatories, they're on a mountain by themselves, but although you do see them on the top of university buildings and stuff like that. So, but generally, yeah, you want to get away and you don't want to cut a hole in your roll-off and use your roll-off as or a shed as your warm room, if you like, and put the dome up and keep it isolated.
Yeah, Eric, I had a question.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you brought up a couple good points here. One is for a backyard observer who lives in, say, an urban area like, Dan, he's in Long Island. I'm in the Illinois suburbs. Is there maybe a minimum distance from your home that's recommended to separate?
We have people right up against them. Yeah. We have people right up against your homes who only have, let's say, the homes to the north, and all they've got is the south, and the pod is right up against it. Mm-hmm. As Terence Dickinson says, 25, 50 feet. If you can get away from structures. Now, it really depends. It's not so much about the heat. If you're not on it, it's more about shooting across the top of it.
Yeah.
In the summer months, it's more about. So it's not so how close you are to it. It's about are you aiming it south across your black asphalt roof after a hot summer night or a hot summer day.
Yeah, my telescope setup is very near the house where it's situated, but I don't shoot over the roof. All right. The swath of sky that I've got to shoot is not anywhere near the roof, so so I'm not affected by anything like that, especially in wintertime when you get the heat coming off the house and so forth. So now here's a question.
There were a couple
more questions that came up. If
Yeah,
I can just get them in real quick. People were asking about distribution and shipping to places like Europe and Hawaii. We were talking about this, so maybe you wanted to sort of elaborate on that.
Yeah, as you know, with the world right now, shipping is ridiculous. It's bad enough just trying to ship a pod. Shipping is the bane of my existence. If we could have a Scotty beam it there, boy, that would be the best. We have an incredible logistics team that gets them there, and they have to jump over, especially during COVID, they really had to jump over a lot of hurdles. And as a matter of fact, as we speak, pods are in transit and being delivered throughout the U.S. right now. And my great friend Greg Brown oversees all that. And we can do it. If you win the lottery, we can make it happen. We can stick a pod or a pod S in a 20-foot container. We can ship them anywhere in the world. Our good friends at Altair Astro used to distribute pods in Europe, and warehousing, shipping, all these other things, VAT, just made it was not realistic. Nick and Ian and Altair can sell a little camera in a box and make as much as they do selling a building. So we understand that logistics and things. But having said that, Nick at Altair, for instance, in the UK, has known about this from the beginning. We're good friends. And they've just bought a new place, a new warehouse. So we're looking at that. And we're, it's going to be 24, though. We got to handle North America first. And we'll have our hands tied just getting them out the door in the numbers we need for 23. And then we'll start looking at the rest of the world. Because I know right now with serious observatories in Australia burning down a couple of years ago there, that was sad. Australia is really starved for observatories, and Pod S is just perfect.
Another question that came up was... Sorry, am I getting in on you there, Dan? Do you want to do it?
No, go. It's fine.
No, I get the
sit back and relax, Dan. I'll take over.
I'm going to be on for another 5 hours, so I'm okay.
Yeah, you got lots of time. Let me do the hard work here.
I can do 5 hours on my head, by the way, if needed.
Hey, Sean, do you want me to type in my question here really quick in the chat?
It's now Astro TV with Sean and Wayne.
People ask me locally, I'll get asked, they'll say, can you talk to the Rotary? And I will say, sure. And I say, what do you want me to talk about? Because is it music? Is it entrepreneurial? Is it manufacturing, export, import, astronomy? What do you want to talk about? And I never prepare anything. I just go, have a coffee, and drag me off that stage.
So what is the material that you're using for SkyPod S?
Yeah, it's really interesting. If you're familiar with, if you've ever been to McDonald's with a playground, or you've driven past the playground, that's polyethylene, high-density polyethylene, non-toxic, earth-friendly in that our factory only outputs or uses electricity. There's no toxic fumes coming out of it. The flaw in my ointment is there's no built-in redundancy with pods, and nor will it be with Pod S. What I mean is they will outlive us all. And this stuff lasts for many decades. And if you've got friends who are pod owners, and they've had it for 15 years, some soap and water every year, just keeps going and going. I'm sorry to say on a regular basis, we get calls from widowers, or someone who's recently got one from a state. I get calls from guys who say, I'm the 6th owner of this pod. I need, a new weather stripping. So from a business point of view, I'm not very smart, because a pod will go on to outlive its owner in many cases, which is sad, but also it's a good thing. The material is used I got the idea from our factory makes heavy-duty industrial agricultural goods, water troughs for cattle, and playgrounds. And all those playgrounds you see now, you'll notice we don't use red and yellow as colors. If you take a look at playgrounds, you'll see outdoor playgrounds, they fade. Those two bright colors fade kind of quick. We like the medium colors, the desert tans. I have to come up with all these names, by the way. Discovery white, lunar gray, midnight gray.
Do you do navy blue?
No, we do cobalt blue.
Close enough.
And
Close enough.
we do forest green. I figure, we can use forest green because it's this for us on Earth as part of so the material itself is, again, non-toxic, recyclable. When you go to your favorite garden center and you see the black urns that they have there that are made out of polyethylene, that's recycled and recycled polyethylene. It gets darker, like burning toast. It gets darker as you recycle it. So it will outlast you and me both. What we're basically doing is creating monuments to ourselves all over the world that'll be around long after we're gone.
Do you have a pickup option for?
Oh yeah, come on! Dog sled, helicopter, however you want to get there. Come on and pick up your pod. We've had people come from California, Arkansas, I don't know, all over the place. We love it. Samara Nagel, you guys got to be familiar with great astrophotographer.
Yeah.
She's coming up with a husband. I look forward to meeting them. There's others who are coming up in the summer. Tim Conley is going to come up from Plattsburgh, New York.
Yep.
I'll make a point because I'm 100 miles away from the factory. I oversee everything, but I have a deal with my suppliers. I say, okay, here's the job. Or here's the deal. You do a good job, and I'll see you at Christmas with a bottle, and we'll see you then. And so we all keep in contact. Everybody knows what's in the mix. But as long as they do their job, I don't have to travel all over the place to suppliers. And they do a great job so that I don't have to do that. So you're welcome to. Anybody's welcome, more than welcome. You'll need a trailer. It won't fit in your pickup. If you can come up with a 12-foot trailer and a pickup or a rental U-Haul, come on up. And now that COVID's over, it's easy at the border. There's no taxes or duties. You just say, hey, I got this thing I bought in Canada. You show them your invoice, you drive through. Simple.
Yeah. Now, one other question I have is installation and setup as far as placement. Concerns about offset of your mount or anything like that.
The nice thing about the slotted dome is center or offset, doesn't matter. We prefer centered with a slot, but where I'm putting my pod S, I'm moving a pod over basically to another deck to use it, and I'm not going to move my deck around, and my offset is probably 8 to 10 inches. I might slide it over a little bit, but we do prefer center mounted with a slot, but offset works just as well.
Nice. Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be in checking you guys out. This is awesome.
Excuse me, Eric.
One last question there, real quick, Wayne. And
I just wanted to say installation, super easy, because Eric touched on it. There's 18 bolts in the wall. You put the wall up in an hour. The dome will take you a few hours. I'm talking about Pod S dome. It'll take you a few hours. That's one of the things we're doing over the winter is we're creating jigs and things for the factory so they can pre-cut and pre-drill all the holes. So you just bolt things through. Those are the things we have to do now. Now that the product itself is ready, we're ramping up for the manufacture of it. So assembly is really easy. If anybody's assembled a pod, they know it's simple. And there's a little bit more to it. And I just want to touch upon our motor system again. It's plug and play, and it says on our website. What I mean by that, it's a couple of units that basically bolt on and plug in and self-calibrating, all kinds of stuff. Really like nothing anyone has seen before as far as motor systems and control in observatories. This is the next step. This is 21st century technology, and we're not pushing the envelope using shelf stuff because we don't want to go too far ahead. But you're going to find that it's really easy to install and, of course, maintain and all those other things.
That's awesome. But the question I was asked a couple times was from Bill. It's not hard to fit in, but we'll get to you. Can your dome fit on a standard Next dome?
Oh, I don't know anything about them, but from what I know, they're very thin and sort of. We've got big, thick walls with 3-inch thick material. That's what you need for this dome. They're designed synergistically to work together. So no, it will only work on our wall and base. And before I leave you, I got to tell you, Bay, Pod. I'm a 2000. I'm a child of the 60s, the Apollo program, the first Star Trek when it was first run, and of course 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hey Dan, sometime I'll tell you about getting on the Star Trek Next Generation, almost becoming a Borg. It was just
I heard that.
I had to take off. take the tour with my band in Europe, I would have been amongst the first Borgs. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Could we just fit in a quick question from Kevin?
Oh,
again?
sure.
Do we got time?
Yeah, one more question. We got to.
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to say it?
Go ahead. Go. You got this.
All right. I'll say it. All right. So Kevin is asking, how do you control temperature and humidity in a pod?
That would take a god to do.
God.
Temperature, humidity. There's a lot of different guys in the desert will add AC. Up here, we add heaters in the north. For instance, I got heaters running, little cube heaters running in all my SkySheds right now to keep them controlled. It's semi-outside, you might say. So generally, there's not a lot needed. You throw a sheet, you throw a bag over your scope at the end of the night. If you're there, if you're not using it remotely, just to keep pollen and dust off mostly. But like anywhere else, you control it. You control your car. You control your house. You control your observatory. You do what's needed if needed. And there's a lot of interest for that. And join our discussion group too, our pod discussion group, where we talk about those kind of things a lot.
Nice.
Are the walls insulated?
Are the walls insulated?
No, they're heavier than the Pod S new wall is really. To give you an idea, a standard pod bay is about 35 pounds. The optional heavier bay, same size, is about 55 pounds. The Pod S bay is 110 pounds.
Wow.
It's substantial. They're not insulated. We won't be insulating. I gotta leave you with this because it's a kind of funny. So we named Pod. I named Pod. The word Pod is ubiquitous now. It's podcasts and everything's Pod. When I named Pod back in 2005, it was an homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey. I had to come up with a name for the part we designed that stuck out. And I said, well, we got to call it a bay. I said to my engineer, can we put a little door in the bay? And he said, what do you want to put a door in for? I said, so you can turn to your buddy and say, open the pod bay door. Others around the world have tried to copy the bay. They even call it a bay, which doesn't even make sense to me because it's a pod bay. And of course, the big difference in ours is one melded piece. It's not slapped together to try and copy a bay. It's a bay. So the original pod bay, like Coca-Cola, is the pod bay. I want that to be known.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Awesome,
guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on,
Thank
guys.
you.
It was a treat. Yeah, Sean, we're gonna have to figure something out a little later to get you.
Yeah, sorry. Hey,
Sorry.
I took all this time. I got 3 hours on my head.
I devoted my time slot to Wayne because it's a big thing for them, the product launch of Pod S. And,
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, so that's great. Thanks for having me on.
Back
Sean
again.
and Wayne, we won't forget you when you're gone. So
someday,
My heart would break.
That was terrible, man.
And Eric, keep that enthusiasm going. I love it. I'll be tuning in. I'll be watching what you say. I might not be chatting, but I'll be lurking.
there you go. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. We're gonna have to move on to Amy. Who's
All the best. All the best.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being a part of the show, and you guys are awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.